It's hard to believe that we're already at December 18th and that we're talking about a vaccine. It has been a very busy week in politics. Adam Hunter covers them for CBC Saskatchewan and joins me now. Back in March, we weren't even at the vaccine stage. We were still trying to figure out COVID-19.
Yeah, Sam, it seems like a long time ago. It's still hard to believe that it's only been about 9 months or so, and pretty remarkable that we're at a vaccine stage now. And that's where it started to roll out this week, as we saw about 550 healthcare workers in Regina, frontline healthcare workers, get the vaccine. We have the vaccine headed to Saskatchewan now, where more healthcare workers, hundreds more, will receive it next week. And then the province is hoping by the end of the month that the Moderna vaccine will be approved by Health Canada and doses will start to arrive in Saskatchewan. The Premier says when they arrive, they'll be ready to be administered. And then, of course, they're going to expand to the highest risk populations, those in long-term care, the ones we're seeing so adversely affected by COVID-19. Also, more healthcare workers, and then on down through the age groups, first with people over 80, and then through in 5-year increments, as we talked about last week. But that is the bright light shining at the end of this pandemic. With still a long ways to go. Dr. Saqib Shahab said it'll be until May before we start getting more of the population widely vaccinated. And then this week, the federal government said again that by September, everyone who wants a vaccine in Canada will be able to get one. Premier Moe telling us this week, and we're hearing from Dr. Shahab that they're expecting more vaccine candidates, Sam, to be approved by Health Canada in the next number of weeks and months, which could move that timeline up. So that is a bit of a bright light, as I mentioned, at the end of this really dark tunnel.
You know, there were a lot of new restrictions this week that do have an impact on Christmas, but also there's more to come. What are we watching for over the next couple weeks?
Yeah, we're watching for the restrictions to see what impact they have. Now, the Premier, Dr. Shahab, Scott Livingstone yesterday from the SHA, all saying that people need to do their part to abide by the restrictions that were put in place. Of course, the most stringent being that you have to stick to your household this holiday season if you're going to go outdoors. Maximum 10 people, of course, and further restrictions as we get into next week on retail, restrictions starting right away, of course, on salons, tattoo parlors, those personal service places, and of course, this evening, casinos and bingo halls at midnight on the 19th will close. So some of those restrictions that were put in place last week, and of course the ones that were put in place in November, will stick around, Sam, until at least January 15th. The government's hoping that this curve we're seeing, which is starting to plateau and level off, will drop. We'll see hospitalizations drop, and of course ICU admissions, and ultimately deaths drop, as we went over 100 this week. Of course, unfortunately, they're hoping that those numbers, as I said, will level off and then go down because of those restrictions. That's what we'll be watching for over the Christmas break.
Now, we are getting closer to the end of the year, and that means we check in with all the significant leaders in the province. You had an opportunity to speak with the Premier and the Leader of the Opposition.
Yeah, next week we'll be showing you snippets of those interviews. I sat down with Premier Moe this week and talked to Ryan Miley today. We'll bring you those interviews next week, or at least a portion. I can tell you that Premier Moe, reflecting on the year, the long 9 months that it's been from the start of the pandemic, what his first reaction was when he heard about it, to moving through the decisions the government made, some of the criticism he's heard, and of course, just a strange election night where he couldn't really celebrate. There was no reception, no party when he won that election. So that was some of the, interesting highlights from Premier Moe. We talked to Ryan Miley, and he had some of the similar thoughts about the trajectory of the vaccine, what we're seeing, as I mentioned, that bright light that we're expecting at the end of the year. And then later, we talked about, of course, the government's handling of the pandemic and the NDP's performance, which was below expectations for Ryan Miley and the NDP in the election in October.
Thanks so much for this, Adam. I think you have a package at your door.
I'm going to go grab it. Thanks, Sam.
CBC political reporter Adam Hunter in Regina tonight.